I remember I was driving home from a training session and like my field of vision, it just went shh. And then, I remember the next day, Dana White called me. He said, "Have you spoke to your doctor yet?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I have." I said, "Yeah, what did he say?" He said, "You're never going to fight again."
Michael the Count Bisping!
If I was going to fight somebody, I know I used to trash talk is what they call it. I don't know why you're so fucking confident, boy. I'm going to smash your I'm going to smash his face in, knock him out, submit him, take him down. Ain't going to be fucking laughing Wednesday night. And training for a fight didn't really ever feel like work to me anyway. A long career that, many highs, many lows, the ups and the downs. That's how it goes. The career of a professional fighter.
Time to go to work. I'm coming back.
We rollin'! Yeah! All night long, baby.
What's happening, Burt? How we doing?
Big Mike, what's up, baby? How's it going, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Listen, I haven't seen you face to face or in many, many years, and you don't look like you've aged a day.
Well, that's a good thing, man. That's me living right, staying home.
I wish I could say the same, you know what I mean? But sadly, there's a few more wrinkles popping up. And man, you say 13 years. My word, I've been a professional fighter for God knows how long. But yeah, in the UFC, a 13-year run, of course.
13 years, yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. But I know most of it. But welcome to Legends of Legends, baby. It's about time you came into Legendsville, my man. I've been waiting on you,
Yeah. Well, we tried to make it happen, didn't we, over Christmas? But sadly,
you know what? We tried a couple of times, but our schedules, like everyone else's, our schedule didn't happen, and we became victims of the time. But our friendship and the fact that I got your personal cell number, that kind of helped a little bit. Listen, man.
No, sure. Sadly, my whole family and I came down with COVID when we were meant to do this last time. So I was kind of bummed out because I'm like, I would love to talk to you, Burt, of course.
Yeah. Is everybody good now? Everybody's safe and everybody's healthy?
Yeah, all good. We just a few days where we didn't feel too great, but yeah, man, everyone's great. Everyone's healthy. Life is good. I can't complain.
Man, that stuff is crazy. Well, we've known each other for quite some time, baby. And we've had quite a few conversations. Some good ones, some little ones to the left and some little ones to the right, but mainly event related. On this platform, baby, we get to have just OG chatter. We just talk about you and that fantastic career, and I'm going to ask you questions, and feel free to ask me questions, baby. There's nothing off limits, okay?
Sure. Okay.
Whatever. You can ask me.
I'm nervous.
Don't worry about it, baby. I ain't gonna get you. Let's talk about that career, man. What an awesome career you've had. You started training jiu-jitsu at the age of 8. By the time you were 15 or 16 years old, you had already won numerous British competitions, no holds barred. You made your pro debut in 2004 at Pride and Glory 2. You fought in Cage Rage. You made your pro debut at 2004 at Pride and Glory. You got 39 pro fights, 18 knockouts, and 10 decisions. You fought in Cage Rage. You fought in UK MMA Challenge in 2005. You fought in the Ultimate UK Fight Club. And
Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors, yes, sir. You made your UFC debut in 2006 at the Ultimate Fighter 3. You are the OG for British martial artists, mixed martial artists around the world. You had 39 pro fights, you had 18 knockouts and 10 decisions. I mean, you worked hard for your money, baby. But you worked just as hard in life as you did in the cage. You worked in factories, you worked in a slaughterhouse, you worked in a demolition company, you were an upholsterer, a postman, a plasterer, and a salesman. You were inducted into UFC Hall of Fame in 2019. You're a host for ESPN, UFC analyst, commentator, and an actor. You got a lot going on, baby. A lot.
Well, that is quite the introduction. Thank you, Bert. I appreciate it.
Where did that come from? Where did that drive and that intensity come from in you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's same as anybody, really. Same as any father or the head of any household. You want your family and your children to have the best life possible, And I was working hard, and my wife was working hard. She was a dental nurse, and I was working at factories. But at the end of the week, there's no money. You know what I mean? We could pay the bills just about, and that was that. And I thought there's got to be more to life than this. So anyway, as I said, I started training to become a professional fighter. Made it to the UFC, but still for me, that was always, I always just thought that this is a blip in my life. I thought at any point soon, my luck's going to run out. I'm going to lose a few fights. I'm going to get cut from the UFC. And then I'm going to be back down the job center on Monday looking for work, So that humbleness or that realization that this can all be taken away at any moment in time is what kept me training so hard. I never wanted to go back to, my old life, if you will. It's like if you get on a plane and if you ever fly up front in first class, you don't want to go back to economy. You know what I mean? That's what it was like. I'd had a taste of a finer life, having money in the bank, and just, I'd actually, for the first time ever, felt like I was living the life I was supposed to do. I felt like me. I felt like I'd found myself and I'd realized my identity. So hard work's never been something that I'm afraid of. And training for a fight didn't really ever feel like work to me anyway. I always prided myself on my fighting ability. And if I was going to fight somebody, I know I used to trash talk is what they call it, but I would take it personally. I'm like, this guy's going to try and fight me. He's going to try and knock me out in front of the entire world. So that was all the motivation I needed as well. You put all that together. I always worked hard, always trained hard, always came in the best shape possible, and I guess it all paid off.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I mean, it paid off in a big way. I mean, you were the first British fighter to compete in the UFC main event at the UFC 78, the first, and the first British fighter to actually win the title. What was that like for you and your country? I mean, you brought that Clitheroe. Is that where it was?
That's how you say it.
You brought that Clitheroe hot sauce, baby, all the way from Newcastle, from your first fight in Newcastle to Vegas to your last fight in China. You brought that hot sauce with you, baby. You talked a little trash, but you brought it. What was that like for you and your country?
Yeah, thank you. That Clitheroe hot sauce, that's hilarious. So I mean, I gotta say, there was people that came before me, of course. Yes, I was the first main event, and I'm still the only Brit to win a title, and I'm extremely proud of that. But there was guys like Ian Freeman, there was Mark Weir, there was Lee Remedios, there was Lee Murray as well. So there was a few others before me, but I was the first one to really make an impact, if you will, for want of a better word, and really turn it into a career. And I am proud of what I achieved. Obviously, I won the Ultimate Fighter 3. And then from there, I had a good, long, lengthy career. I mean, at one point, I had the most fights. So, yeah, I mean, being the life of a fighter, it's. I always get asked all the time, but would I want my children to do it? And I always say, well, listen, I fought so they don't have to. But if they wanted to, I will 100% always support them, just like my father supported me. My dad always did his best by me, drove me all over the country when I was a kid, taking me to tournaments, and still, came to every single one of my fights. It doesn't matter where it was on the planet, and I did get to fly all over the world. I mean, it was a crazy time. It was an exciting time. It was nerve-wracking, the highs and lows, the injuries, the fights themselves, But, I mean, well, I was going to say no regrets. Many regrets. When I see some of the shit I used to say, I'm like, oh God, and I cringe a little bit inside. But
all right, we're gonna get to that.
We're gonna live and learn, Bert.
we're gonna get to that. But I do know that speaking of your father, and said he was in the British Army. You were born on a military base, and as much as I've known, he's always been a great support system for you. And I've always seen him at all of your fights, and that says a lot within itself, because as a person that works through the heart and the head of a fighter, as I do, I know how important it is to have a great support system, you know, and to follow that.
Britain's Michael the Count Bisping became a star in the UFC at light heavyweight. Tonight, he makes his debut in the middleweight division and promises to be even better at 185 pounds.
Some said that sometimes you were a little undersized, you know, and then you moved down to middleweight in 2008 to fight Charles McCarthy, and you won. What was that? Your thoughts on your weight where you fought?
Yeah. So when I was fighting in England, everybody said, "Oh, when you make it to the UFC, you'll have to drop down from light heavyweight to 205 because of the weight cutting." Obviously, wrestling, you know, is a huge part of. It's a way of life here in America, but not in the UK. You know, I mean, there is some European countries that wrestle, but the UK, yeah, there's just really no wrestling program. There is a few little clubs up and down. The point I'm making is that the culture of cutting weight didn't really exist. And they said, listen, Michael, when you get to the UFC, you're going to have to go down. I was like, nah, I'm good. And I was doing good. You know, I made it to 15-0, but it was when I lost to Rashad Evans at UFC 78, the first main event, as you mentioned. I remember, I mean, it was a close fight, you know, highly contentious split decision. But I remember afterwards, because when you lose your first fight, you don't want to make a habit of doing that. So I was like, okay, why did I lose? And it was a close fight. I don't think I was particularly outmatched in any way, but I always remember that on the day of the weigh-in, Rashad was in a sauna, you know, pretty much killing himself to make weight. And I was sitting in a Chinese restaurant drinking 7-Up and eating noodles. And I thought, well, I'm not really making the sacrifices that he is to be the best version of myself. And I didn't want to start racking up the losses. So I thought, right, okay, I'll go down to 185. Now, for me, even still back then, I had no idea about the weight cutting process. I didn't work with anybody. The team that I was with at the time, they didn't really know what they were doing either. And I kind of did it all by myself. And what I did was I dieted. See, before I was walking around at 205 and I'd step onto a scale at 205. This time, like an idiot, because I was so naive, I dieted down to like 189 pounds. You know, I remember in Montreal where I had my first middleweight fight, it was the morning you got to go down for the early, you know, you got to go check your weight, Burt. Remember those days?
Oh, I remember.
This is Burt Watson time, not Bisping time, he would say to me every time. So I'd go down to check the weight. And I remember I got in the elevator and I saw Eddie Bravo. And Eddie Bravo said, hey, Mike, I know you're making middleweight for the first time. Where are you at? And I said, oh, I'm like 187, 188. He said, oh, how was the cut? I said, oh, hasn't been a weight cut. I just got out of bed. And it's like, you could do a weight cut and probably make 170 right now. So I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So I was doing it all wrong, but still, we still got the win, what we needed.
Well, when did you know? In you spoke of cutting the weight and you know fighters losing weight and cutting weight, and you what I'm hearing is that you had to actually learn how to do that because you weren't doing that there in London. So you had to learn that process. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a learning curve. You know, bit by bit, every weight cut you do, you get a little bit better. You figure out what works, what doesn't work. And of course, when I moved out here to the States, you know, I worked with some different people that had the ideas, that had experience working with other fighters. And then towards the end of my career, whilst making weight was always miserable and everybody always dreaded it, you know, it was pretty easy towards the end, you know. So, you know, I got my system down. I always try to. Typically, they fly you to the event on a Tuesday. So you land on a Tuesday night and then your fight week starts. If I got on that plane at 200 pounds, I was happy, you know, and yeah, hopefully make weight. But that doesn't mean, yeah, it's a bloody grim process. It is. It's horrible. And you know what, to be honest now, I'd like to see everybody fight at more than natural weights. You know, I think if we did that, we'd see better fights. I think it'd be safer for the fighters in question. And we haven't got a bloody, you know, because as a fighter, you spend 2 months or whatever in a training camp prior to the fight. You wrap yourself in cotton wool. You know, you treat your body like a temple. You work out 2-3 times a day, 6 days a week. Even on the Sunday, you're getting a massage or active recovery and things like that. And then the day before you fight, you literally almost kill yourself. Yes. So it's so detrimental, you know, but that's the culture. That's what people do. And as I say, if you can't beat them, you got to join them.
If you, what would you do to kind of standardize or improve that system of weight cutting? And how much weight have you ever lost in one day? The most amount?
Yeah, probably about 12 pounds. About 12 pounds is the most. And again, it's miserable. It's bloody miserable. I hate it. I hate it. But I'm not sure on fixing the weight cut problems and the issues. I don't know. Listen, I know my place. I'm just a bloody, I'm a commentator. I don't get involved in any of that stuff. But I would like to see, late weight cut to become less of a thing, simply for the fighters and simply for the fans, for the experience that we have. When you have those kind of weight cuts, as the fight progresses, you get more tired. You feel it more than what you normally would, so. But whatever. We're not here to discuss the pros and cons of weight cutting only, Burt. You know what I mean? But it sucks. What can I tell you? Cutting weight sucks ass, believe it or not.
Well, I know that because I've experienced it with everybody, and everybody does it different. And I don't know
Yeah.
anybody that's ever had an easy time doing it, or anybody that has had a fix all. It's always the worst time for anybody is
Yeah.
that period of cutting weight. My entire career in MMA and boxing, I've worked with Frazier, Ali, Tyson, Randy Couture, Liddell, George St. Pierre. And in 2007, at UFC 75, your fight in London, England, at the O2 Arena against Matt Hamill, which
Yes.
was a controversial split decision.
It was.
You walked out to London calling by the Clash. That had to be the loudest crowd noise I had ever heard in my life. And I've done a ton of events, baby. And that had to be the loudest. What was that like for you fighting at home in front of your home? And did you realize or recognize how loud that crowd was?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bert. So the first time I kind of experienced that was the one before, well, I said the British event before, UFC 70 in Manchester. And I had no idea because I've been on The Ultimate Fighter. This is back way before social media. So, I wasn't getting feedback or anything like that. Back in the old days when there was no social media, you don't know who's watching or whatever. So when I walked out at UFC 70 in Manchester, the place exploded and I wasn't ready for that. And the adrenaline went to me and I sprinted to the octagon like a madman and things like that. And fortunately, I got the win. Now, after that, I said to myself, I said, wow, that was crazy. The crowd was insane. I had no idea that, the people of the UK were watching The Ultimate Fighter on TV and they were all supporting me. But I remember for that fight, because of Manchester, and I got so psyched up and I sprinted into the octagon. I didn't have a mouthpiece in. I still had my sneakers on. I had a hoodie on and stuff. I thought, right, so next time I've got to be prepared for that and I've got to be nice and calm. So I at the next one, well, for the next few fights, I was always trying to get that my excitement level just right. So at UFC 75, and yeah, by the way, Matt Hamill kicked the crap out of me in that first round, and I was a prick on the microphone afterwards, so, but it is what it is. You live and learn. I was young and, we didn't like each other at the time. Now me and Matt, we go back and forth on Twitter sometimes, shoot each other a nice message. He's a great guy. And I went out there and I was far too calm. I was waving at my wife. I was waving at friends. I was like I was going for a walk in the park. And the referee said fight. And all of a sudden, Matt Hamill's got me in a headlock and smashing my head to pieces. I was like, whoa, okay. Maybe that approach wasn't quite right either. So, it's a learning curve. It's all experience, and that's the thing. So coaches can try and get you ready as much as possible. But there's nothing like being in there and having that first-hand experience, whether it's the fight, the lead up to the fight, doing your weight cut, your training camp, your diet, what works for you as an individual in terms of losing weight and things like that. As we know, there is no one size fits all, certainly when it comes to the fight game. So experience is so valuable, and fortunately by the end of it, I'd acquired a little bit of that.
Well, you along the way, you acquired a couple of nicknames. The great
sure.
British, great British hope. Oh no, I wasn't talking about them. The Count. You were brash and cocky, and you embraced it, and it fit. It fit, and it seemed right. when you fought, right after you fought Jorge Rivera, it started to escalate. You started going at anybody and everybody. And at some point, everybody was coming back. You know, Chael Sonnen, Vitor, Alan Belcher. But you know what? You had that handled. And it you know, you see a lot of trash talkers now today where it goes beyond that. But yours, you know, for some reason it fit and it was there when it was a fight, and then when it was done, it was done.
I might be completely wrong on what I'm about to say, but it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna say it. I couldn't give a about getting love. All I care about is smashing this head in. Tomorrow night, that's gonna happen. This is a press conference, by the way, Jorge. This is what you do. I know it's your first time involved in something like this. Welcome to the big leagues. After this, you'll be back to the undercard, believe me. This is an individual sport. There's no tanks, missiles, or guns involved in this. This is mano a mano, individual versus individual. On September 22nd, I'm gonna individually beat the crap out of him. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, that's who I was. Do you know what I mean? And then that was me. And I, you know, I come from a small town, so that's got nothing to do with it. But, you know, all of a sudden I'm in this world. I'm in the UFC and I'm fighting people, and I would take that personally. Like, so my opponent, I was like, well, you're trying to take away my hopes and dreams. And of course, you know, there'd be a bit of shit talk here and there. So it would get personal. Trash talk and all the rest of it, which I don't even like that term, but still, like, for me, there was a few different angles for it. Number one, you know, I did used to take it personally if I was going to fight this guy. So what I was saying, I meant. Secondly, also, we're trying to sell the fight, you know, and I'm not being not genuine, right? But so I would feel animosity towards my opponent, but also at the same time, I knew as a fan, if I was seeing two guys that were going to fight, and oh, look at this, look at them, they're so respectful, it's great, they're bowing and they're shaking hands, wow, it's lovely to see. And it is lovely to see. Beautiful show of respect. But if you see a couple of guys and they're going at one another and they're talking mad shit, you know, Dana's in there and he's holding them back, right? You're like, oh, this is going to be a good one. I'm going to catch this one as well. So there was that element to it. And of course, there's a psychology aspect as well. You know, you're trying to instill a little bit of doubt into your opponents and things like that. You know, and of course, there came, you know, after that Matt Hamill fight, you know, I kind of became public enemy number one in the States, part of me. And, you know, everyone was talking a lot of shit at me and all the rest of it. I'm like, okay, well, if that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. Do you know what I mean? So then I leaned into it. I was like, all right, well, fair enough. Well, now, if you're going to be like that to me, then I'm going to talk shit back. You know, and I started having a bit of fun with it. But I do look back, of course, now as a man that's 42 years old, 43 in a few weeks, and think, oh, shit, you know, I shouldn't have maybe said that one, but it is what it is, you know. Yeah, you know, good memories.
Yeah, but you know what? It's one of those things when people talk about that, you know, the fact that you talk the talk and walk the walk, so to speak, you know, it kind of made up for everything because you gave the people what they wanted. You gave them a fight. You fought your ass off for everybody. You know, in 2008, 2009, you were confirmed for the Tough Nine, along with Dan Henderson as the coaches. You were confirmed, which ultimately led to UFC 100 with your fight with Dan Henderson. What did that fight do to you in your career? Because you said that fight kind of changed dynamics for you a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, geez.
And this is what Dan Henderson's got to be careful of, that Bisping doesn't outpoint him. Henderson charging after him now. Bisping again is circling Mike towards his left, which is Dan Henderson's power side. As he goes towards his left, he runs into the big right hand of Dan Henderson, and that's what his coach didn't want. That's it! He's down! And it is all over! Dan Henderson has knocked out Michael Bisping! And that's what he had to worry about, Mike. We just said it. He was circling towards that direction. He ran right into the big right hand of Dan Henderson, and he is still out cold. Bisping knocked out for the first time in his career.
I mean, getting knocked out unconscious like that and the whole world laughing at you for a long time will give you, well, you can take it two ways, can't you? You can either be defeated and, feel sorry for yourself or the rest of it, or you can learn from it, simple as that. And that's what I did. I mean, that fight there, let's remember Dan Henderson was on testosterone replacement therapy, so shame on him. Still went on to have a long career after the outlawed that, which is very interesting, isn't it? Shows cheating. I always had a tough stance against people that take steroids, and I still do. So you get no passes from me, unfortunately. But yeah, listen, I mean, they always say you learn from your losses, not your wins. If you're winning all the time, there's a potential, not always, that you'll develop bad habits and things like that. It's only when you go out there and you lose a fight, like against Rashad Evans, I figured out I was competing at the wrong weight class. And against Dan Henderson, I got knocked out. I was coming in, I was overtraining, I was malnourished, I was underweight. I wasn't cutting weight. Again, I cut like 1 or 2 pounds on the day just with a sauna suit on, going for a walk, So there was still a lot of things going wrong, but I was still young in my career, still learning on the job, still just doing the best I could do. And you can't let things like that define you, and I didn't do that. I rebounded back, but fair play to him. It's a part of history. People at the time used to always try and bring that up, but I just used that as motivation. That just motivated more, to try and achieve my goals, which ultimately I did do that.
Without a doubt, you did. And how much of a testament was your coach Jason Perillo? How was he effective in that process?
Yeah, when I met him, he was a tremendous coach, of course. Worked hard on my boxing and my all-round game, but it was more the mental side that he really helped me with. Like he said it best. One interview, he said when he discovered me, he could tell that he had a real fighter on his hands, but somebody that didn't really have any direction, just someone that was just it got to this point just based on heart and will and determination. So when I worked with Jason, it was all about slowing down my mind, because my mind was always in overdrive. And that doesn't mean slowing down what the body's doing, but slowing down the mind and how it's thinking, and then also calming down my emotions, because I was always, my emotions were never in check, and I always used to let them get the better of me. And Jason worked hard on that with me many times, and I remember when I fought Rockhold for the belt of 2 weeks' notice, I was doing jiu-jitsu down at the gym one day with Brady Fink. Shout out to him. And he's a big guy, and he's a 3rd-degree black belt at BJJ, so he knows what he's doing, And maybe something wasn't going my way, and I'd get a little stressed out, and I'd swear or whatever. And Jason said to me, he said, Michael, listen, and this is just one example of many, many chats that we had. Jason said, listen, Michael, he said, you're fighting for the world title next week, and we all think you're going to win. But there's a potential that you don't win, okay? And if you don't win, he said, this is it. This is the absolute pinnacle of your career. People all over the world will kill to be in your position right now, and you're fighting for the belt next week, and we think you're going to win, but you might not. So this might be the only chance that you're going to be like this, right? Main event of a pay-per-view, fighting for the belt, tons of media attention. He said, how about we go through this process with the smile on our face? How about we enjoy this? Or you can be like a bear with a sore head. It's up to you. But I prefer to go through this event, this occasion, this special occasion that you've earned with a smile on our faces. And it was such great advice. And there were so many more times, that Jason would work on the mental side of things, because I used to try and wind myself up and try and get angry. And I just try and get angry, because I used to think if I fight like that, I'm a force to deal with. But the reality is that when you're in there with the world's best martial artists, when you're fighting guys like Anderson Silva, you can't be fighting on emotion. You can't be making choices through emotion and anger. You need to be cool, calm, and collected. You need to be in the moment, and anger or being angry only clouds your emotions and your judgment, and regardless of what you do, if you're in an angry or frantic state of mind, you're never the best version of yourself. And certainly when you're in an octagon, fighting the best people in the world.
Well, it's a testament to exactly as you said, Jason, training you for that calmness, and that. But you brought it right. It was you, it was your style, and it worked, man. I'm telling you, it worked for you. In January 2013. You fought Vitor Belfort in UFC on Fox, and it was a head kick that you sustained an eye injury. In October that same year, you were supposed to fight Mark Munoz, and the fight was delayed for the eye. And then Machida was brought in and for a replacement, and you were gone. Can you tell us a little bit about your injuries and what happened during that time for your fans?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's pretty much well documented, but Vitor head kicked me again on enough steroids to kill a dinosaur. But yeah, so he head kicked me, and I got a detached retina. But it took a while for the symptoms to actually show up. And I remember I would always do this in restaurants or dark rooms. I'd be like, I said to my friends, I said, Can you see your eye there? Sorry, see your hands. And I remember one of my friends would go, "Oh, he's doing the thing with his fingers again," like making fun of me. And then eventually it got to the point where I had my hand where it is now, and I still couldn't see it, and I can't see that. But so then I Googled it, of course, and you should never Google symptoms or any kind of illnesses because it will always give you the worst case scenario. You've got cancer, you're dying. But anyway, so the result that I found was that I had a detached retina. So I called an eye doctor close to me. I said, I think I've got a detached retina. They said, why do you think that? I told him about my symptoms. He said, yeah, you need to come in. So I went in, they looked at it. They said, yeah, you got a detached retina. I had surgery the day after. And then after, I was supposed to be fine. I got cleared to fight again, and I was sparring for the fight with Mark Munoz that you mentioned there. But then I guess we were sparring too hard. In fact, no, it wasn't sparring. No, it was actually, I was very unlucky. Scar tissue developed on the retina, and it caused the retina to redetach, which is just bad luck. It just happens sometimes, the doctor said. And anyway, I went in for surgery again because I remember I was driving home from a training session, and like my field of vision, it just went shh, and I still remember to this day, and it all just kind of went black, and there was just like a strip in the middle. And I was like, holy cow. As I was driving down the freeway, I thought, this is not right. And yeah, it had redetached. And anyway, I had surgery. And then, I remember the next day, Dana White called me. He said, have you spoke to your doctor yet? I said, no. He said, well, I have. I said, yeah, what did he say? He said, you're never going to fight again. And anyway, but I never gave up hope, kept going back to the doctors. And that was, it was over the course of a year or so, going back every week, just hoping and praying for an improvement and things like that. But slowly but surely, I made my way back to the octagon.
Well, you spent about a year out, and you came back and you fought Tim Kennedy and Kung Lee. But it was very obvious that your course was that title, was to get that title fight. But before that, you fought Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, fighting Anderson Silva, that was a huge deal to me. I'd never fought for the belt back then. Didn't think I was ever going to get a chance. Obviously with my eye injury and my window of opportunity closing and my window of vision closing as well, pardon the pun. But, so when I fought or when I got the opportunity to fight Anderson Silva, for me, this was as good as a world title fight, and I looked up to and I admired Anderson Silva so much, but I always thought I could beat him. I always thought, I had a good style. I thought I had it figured out, and I wasn't afraid of him, and I always wanted to fight him. So anyway, it was Christmas Eve. Dana called me up. I was initially supposed to fight Gegard Mousasi. Dana called up and said, hey, we're switching opponents. What do you think about Anderson Silva? I said, yeah, no problem. Let's go. Merry Christmas, which is a weird Christmas present to get, but I was very, very happy for it. So in that training camp, I trained as if that was my world title fight. And in the fight was going down just the way we had it planned, just the way we thought it would. We know Anderson plays a lot of games when he's in there, and he's very crafty and he's got so much experience. So he tries to, he works on the psychology. He tries to bully people emotionally and psychologically so you don't fight to the best of your ability. So I couldn't let myself look at Anderson as the great champion that he was. I had to strip him down. So that's why I went at him so much for failing the steroid test that he did and whatnot. So, because I couldn't look at him as Anderson Silva, the great. I had to look at him as Anderson Silva, the cheat. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to go in there, I'm going to fight this guy. So I can't put him on a pedestal.
Michael, we've got a chance for one quick question to you, and it's simply this. You fought a who's who of middleweights in your career. Where would victory over Anderson Silva rank?
Everybody here, thank you all for supporting me throughout the years. It means the world to me. When I step into that cage tomorrow, I'm doing it on behalf of myself and Great Britain. Thank you all. This man is a cheat. This man is a fraud. And I will make you pay for your mistakes tomorrow night, my friend. All the needles in your ass, all the steroids will not help you. You pussy. Anyway, the fight was going well. I kind of dropped him in the first round. Dropped him in the second round, landed some good ground and pound, and the third round was going my way as well. You know, I was doing good. Then Anderson catches me with something. My mouthpiece flies out, and I meant so this is my bad eye, you know. And then Anderson's in front of me, and I'm backing away. And I know the rules. You have to wait until there's a lull in the action. And for my money, there's a lull in the action, and I'm backing away. I'm like, I've got no mouthpiece in. Right? Anderson's coming on the attack, but I'm backing off. So I turn, I look at Herb Dean, I go, Herb, my mouthpiece, and I pointed it on the floor. But as I said, this eye doesn't work very well. So when I turned there, Anderson's there, and I couldn't see him. And then when I looked back, Anderson's in midair, boom, lands a beautiful flying knee. I mean, God bless him. And then as I hit the canvas, boom, you know, the round ends. So the round ends. So Anderson wrongly assumes that Herb Dean was stopping the fight. It was because the round ended. So Anderson jumps on the cage, you know, and I'm on the floor, and I'm led there like this, and I look up at Herb, and I said to him, I said, I'm not out. And he said, I know, the fight's not over. But Anderson was on top of the cage celebrating, and all hell's breaking loose. You know, they're trying to bloody control him. Like I'm trying to control my bloody hair right now. Anyway, they're trying to grab Anderson down to tell him that the fight's not over. I've split open here, split open there. I've got blood everywhere. I had about 30 stitches in my face after that fight. But yeah, you know, they cleaned me up. The fight wasn't over. Round 4, I went out there. I outboxed him. Round 5 was a tough one. He landed some really, really good shots. You know, and I was lucky enough to get the decision. I mean, I know I won the fight 3 rounds to 2 anyway, but he had a big moment in round 3, and it was just an honor for me to share the octagon with him. It really was, and that's why there was such a massive show of respect afterwards. Because, as I say, to be in there and to fight Anderson, I mean, that was a huge deal for me. You know, it really was. I had tremendous respect for him, for the career that he'd had, and then for the inspiration that he'd given me. You know, I remember watching Anderson Silva back in the day. I remember fighting on Cage Rage when he fought there as well. And, you know, as I say, he definitely inspired me.
Well, they didn't just give anybody a shot at Anderson Silva. Okay, you definitely earned it. And then finally, in that same year, in 2016, you finally got that second shot at Luke Rockhold on a 17 days notice for the title. Yeah. Describe what that was about and what that weight was for you.
Yeah. I mean, so by this point now, I've been doing a bit of acting here and there, and I was filming Triple X with Vin Diesel up in Toronto, and obviously I always wanted to fight for the belt, but I never got a chance. You know, I'd lose #1 contender matchups or whatever. Chris Weidman drops out of the rematch. People know this probably. Ariel Helwani tells me, he says, hey, Weidman's out, text Dana. So I text Dana White. I said, hey, Dana, you know, I'm here. I said, if either of those men can't make it to the octagon, you know where I am. And Dana texts back and said, wow, we love you. Thank you very much. Jacare's our first option, but if he doesn't want it, then you're up. And I thought, well, there's no way Jacare's not going to take it, you know. So I went to my buddy's house that night. We watched a basketball game, had a couple of beers, whatever, you know, because I thought, I'm not getting it. And then Friday morning, I go to the gym because I'm going to be on set that night. So I thought I'll have a workout. I'll sit in the sauna so I look nice and healthy. And as I'm walking in, I just start getting all these messages. And it turns out that Dana had just been on Sports Center and announced that I was fighting Rockhold for the belt in 2 weeks. I was like, holy crap. What's my weight? So I ran to the scale. I was like 218 pounds or something. I'm like, oh, no way. So I sprint out the octagon. I throw my backpack on my back. I'm running through the streets because I think I've just got to lose weight. That's all I was thinking about. I've got to lose weight. Otherwise, I'm not going to make weight. I'm not going to get to fight for the belt. And I'm running through the streets, and Dana calls me, and I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing, Dana? So anyway, we talk about it. He said, I knew you wouldn't, you know, not accept it. So I thanked him, carried on running. And as I'm running, I was thinking, crap, this is so typical of my life, you know, because all the doubts and negativity started creeping in. I'm thinking, I'm fighting a guy, you know, that's already beaten me. I'm taking the fight on 2 weeks' notice. I haven't been near an MMA gym in about 3-4 months because I've been in Toronto for ages filming a movie, and I don't believe this, you know. I've wanted a world title fight my entire life. I get it on 2 weeks' notice. In this kind of situation, I'm going to lose this fight, and then the whole world's going to say, told you, well, he was never that good anyway, was he? So as I'm running, I call up Jason Perillo, and I'm telling him some of these doubts that I'm having. And he says to me, Michael, stop having these negative thoughts. He said, listen, how long you been running? I said, I don't know, about 4 miles, I think, by now. He said, okay. He said, so you're in pretty good shape. He said, you've been training your whole life. He said, the training's done. He said, you just beat Anderson Silva, the greatest of all time, in your last fight. He said, you don't need to learn how to fight. You're in pretty good shape. He said, stop having these negative thoughts and let's go win a world championship. So I finished filming the Triple X. I still had 2 days left on set. Flew home Saturday morning, straight to the gym from the airport. Didn't even go home. And a quick panic week of training. Got myself in the best shape possible. And then there it was. It was fight night.
The 26th time he enters this octagon. 26 times, and this his first chance to win UFC gold.
Most significant strikes landed, most victories in the history of the division. I mean, what Michael Bisping has done is just keep on trucking.
He is the reigning, defending UFC middleweight champion of the world. Tonight, the 5th title fight in the mixed martial arts career of Luke Rockhold.
Gentlemen, got over the rules in the back. I want you to protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times. I want you to fight clean, fight hard. You want to touch down? Go ahead. Good luck to both of you.
Michael Bisping, Luke Rockhold for the UFC middleweight championship of the world.
You ready? You ready? Get it on.
Here we go.
And fortunately went to plan. I mean, the plan was always the left hook. We saw an opening. Luke kind of exposes his chin. Southpaws are often susceptible to a left hook or a right hand anyway. So, yeah. And we got the job done.
Rockhold has this air of invincibility mentally right now as well. Never more confident.
Oh my goodness. That's why this is a crazy sport, ladies and gentlemen, because anything can happen at any given moment. And at any good moment, any given moment, you're sitting at home watching this and you just go, holy shit.
Well, that was a left hook. And I've seen some beautiful lefts in my life, but that one, you know, for you was quick. It was sudden, you know, and you finally had that belt. Not only for you, but I mean, you carried that flag your entire career. What was that like for your hometown for you to finally become that champion and still the only British champion in the UFC?
Yeah, listen, you know, it was amazing for my hometown and for me, but more for my family, more for my wife and for my children, you know, because I always say, and of course I'm very proud, you know, I'm a very, very proud Englishman and a Brit and all the rest of it. And I fly the flag and I support them to the fullest. But for me, it was more for my immediate family, you know, from my wife. Not that I'm disregarding the UK, because I'm not. But what I mean by this is that, you know, they don't, you know, Burt, you've been around the fight game long enough. You've been around the fight game way longer than I've been alive. And, you know, you see the sacrifices that other people make in the backgrounds, you know, and for me, I was always chasing my dreams, you know, doing what I wanted to do. And for me, it's exciting. I'm traveling the world. I'm going down to have training camps in somewhere, you know, it's exciting. I'm going off to Madison Square Garden or whatever, and I'm the center of attention and all that type of stuff. But my support network, my wife, the one at home, she's the one making real sacrifices. She's the one that put her hopes and dreams on hold so I could go off and chase my dreams. You know what I mean? So, yes, it was amazing to bring that home to England and be the first and only British champion. And no doubt there'll be another one. You know, I'm sure there will be soon. That was incredible, more so for my wife and my kids as well. And I'll never forget on that night, they almost weren't going to let them in the octagon. I was like, no. Forget that, buddy. Get out the way. They're coming in here right now, and they are sharing this moment with me. But yeah, to represent the UK to the fullest, you know, to achieve my dreams, to go out there and, you know, I mean, listen, I always said I could do it. I always felt I could do it. So to be able to finally back that up, you know, and against someone that I didn't really get along with at the time, and to get a first round knockout, it felt pretty good, Burt, as you can imagine.
I'm going to throw a couple of rapid fire at you, a couple of questions before I let you go. Who is the best BJJ practitioner you know?
I'll say Braulio Estima. Braulio Estima is a guy, Brazilian, multiple-time Abu Dhabi champ, world jiu-jitsu champ. Friend of mine used to train with him back in the day in Birmingham, England. And yeah, I mean, there's many great BJJ guys out there, but for me, one of the best I train with, I'll say Braulio.
Okay. What's your greatest MMA moment?
Me personally, my greatest MMA moment, well, it's either knocking Luke Rockhold out and becoming the champion, or bringing the belt back to the UK and defending in Manchester at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, that was a proud moment. In fact, no, I'll go one better. My proudest moment was in Manchester. There's a shopping centre, a mall called the Trafford Centre, which is a big, huge place. And I used to go there all the time when I was younger, when I lived there and stuff. And the UFC arranged I was going to go there and do an appearance, you know, with my belt. And I thought, God, no one's going to show up. And when I got there was literally, no exaggeration, thousands of people that had waited in line for hours to come up and say hi and say thank you and things like that. So to realize the support that I always had and the kind words that I heard, yeah, for me, that was, it was mind blowing.
Aside from yourself, who's the best MMA fighter you've ever seen?
Oh my God, who's the best MMA fighter I've ever seen? I mean, listen, I mean, Anderson Silva's got to be up there, 100%. I mean, it's Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, or John Jones. You know, now with John, of course, he's got a few asterisks next to his name. So some people may say that he's out of the equation. I'm not sure if he is. But yeah, GSP or Anderson Silva, one of those guys, I think.
In you know, I have a boxing background, and for me, you know, Mike Tyson was one of the baddest men. But they said he was the baddest man on the planet. I heard you in one of your recent commentators say that is no longer the truth.
It's not.
Okay. Who is the baddest man on the planet? And I
well,
know
generally that does go to the heavyweight champion, doesn't it? So I guess right now we should say it's Francis Ngannou. Because yes, if Francis Ngannou was to go and box one of those guys, a Tyson Fury, a Joshua, a Deontay Wilder even, although that one I don't know. But still, you know, it's not their sport. But if you take them out of the boxing ring, right, and you're putting them in the real world, and you put them in an octagon, or if you put them in a bar fight scenario, I will take Francis Ngannou over Tyson Fury any day of the week. See what he did to Cyril Gane? Picked him up and put him on his ass. You put a boxer on his ass like that, he does not have a clue what to do. By the way, huge fan of Tyson Fury. Love the guy. Love what he does. Love the way he fights. Love the entertainment. Love everything about it. But if we are talking about who the baddest man in the planet is, hey, it's got to be, you know, Stipe Miocic may have a claim for that as well. DC's out there. He's a pretty bad man. Anyone that's had the ability to become a heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC, you know, they're one of the baddest men. Simple as that.
I got you. But it's shifted a little. Lastly, I'm going to throw a couple of names, and I want you to just listen to the names because I'm going to throw a quick rapid fire.
Let's go.
Over your career, you fought Matt Hamill, Rashad Evans, Chris Lieben, Dan Henderson, Dennis Kang, Akiyama, Vanderlei Silva, Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Luke Rockhold, George St. Pierre, Kevin Gastelum, Brian Stan, and Kung Lee. What was your best fight?
My best fight, in my opinion, was the Kung Lee fight. The Kung Lee fight out in Macau. Number one, I really enjoyed it. It was incredible. I had a great performance. I feel like for one of the few times I actually fought to my ability. I was putting the strikes together well. Obviously, that I just came back from my detached retina. I rushed back against Tim Kennedy. That was an awful night at the office. I went from sitting on the couch for a year to 6 weeks later being in the octagon, rushed back. But against Kung Lee, yeah, I had a great time. And I remember being in there and we were both, it was a real good display of martial arts, So, yeah, we'll go with Kung Lee.
What was your worst fight?
Worst fight. Well, probably that one with Tim Kennedy. That wasn't good. Let me see. There's a few bad ones. I mean, you can't go better than UFC 100. I mean, that one didn't end very well, did it? I was unconscious for quite some time. And then the way my career ended as well against Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, I got choked out of George St. Pierre in a back and forth fight. And then Anderson tested positive again, sadly. So they needed someone to fill in. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it. One more for the road. Maybe I can go out on a win, get another payday, But yeah, worst fight. We'll go with that Tim Kennedy. Farce. Absolute terrible performance.
How about a fight you didn't want?
I didn't want?
Yes.
Well, there was never a fight I didn't want. But, one of the only times I went back to the UFC on my opponent, which I never did. If they said who I was fighting, I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And but one of the only times I went back was when they matched me up with Jorge Rivera. Because I wanted somebody higher ranked. That was the only time. They came back to me and they said, yeah, we want to fight Jorge Rivera. I said, come on. I said, no one a bit higher ranked? No. Well, I don't even think they had rankings back then, but you get what I'm saying. I said, someone a little bit closer to the belt or whatever. And they went, no, we think you two would match up to a great fight. I said, all right, sweet. But other than that, there was never a fight I didn't want.
Okay. How about a fight you didn't get?
Fight I didn't get. I mean, to be honest, I always wanted to fight Rich Franklin when I was, when I first came to the UFC. Rich Franklin was the champion at the time, and I always liked the way he fought. I liked his style, and I would have liked to have got a chance to fight him 100%. Also, what's another one? Yoel Romero. Wow. we should have got to throw down, but it is what it is.
What is your opinion of the growth of MMA and the landscape and the condition of MMA today compared to where it was 10 years ago?
I mean, it's day and night. It's absolutely huge, thanks to the exposure that it gets now. Being on ESPN, I mean, being on Fox was incredible for the growth. Now it's on ESPN. Now it's literally a worldwide sport. I'm going to say something now, and this sounds like I'm being extremely arrogant, but it's not. This is not the point. It's not about me. I've been very lucky, and I've traveled the world pretty much, and I've been to some really obscure places where you wouldn't think they know anything. And I've been somewhere, and I think they know nothing about UFC around here, and then people come up and they want a picture, right? And I'm saying, what I'm saying here is not that, oh, I'm so famous, I can go wherever I want in the world. I'm saying that is the reach of the UFC. And that's how popular it is all over the world, because it truly is a global sport. Because, listen, as long as man has been around, if there's a group of people and two people get into a fight, everyone's going to stop and watch and see what goes on. If you're walking down the street and there's a fight happens on the other side of the street, I don't know. Unless you got somewhere to be, you're going to stop and watch it. I know I am. That's for damn sure. And when you look at the way that the UFC put it all together, you look at the production, you look at the quality of the fights, the fighters that they have these days, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I remember Dana saying we're going to make this the biggest sport in the world. And I think we're on track to doing that. I mean, from when I started now, it's day and night. The acceptance, the popularity, the quality of the fighters and the fights. And I'm looking forward to the next 10 years as well.
Earlier I told you about that Clitheroe hot sauce that you slang from Newcastle to Vegas, and then China and back. It has grown, and I've seen it grow, and I've seen you grow as a person, as a fighter, as a man, as a businessman, as a father. Because when I met you, you weren't. And I've seen that growth, man. and you know, it's fantastic, and it's been great for me to get you here on Legends to Legends to let them hear the real OG, the real
Yeah,
OG.
well, thank you, Burt. Thank you, Burt. It's too kind, and you were always a good friend to me over the course of my career. You really were. You gave me a lot of good advice at times, and I never forget that. You know, so that's why when you asked me to do this, I was like, Burt, it would be a pleasure. And then when I got COVID, I was like, I hope he doesn't think I'm messing him around or coming out with some nonsense, because it was true. You know, I was like 100%. As I say, you were always, hey, you told me what I needed to hear sometimes. And sometimes that wasn't, you know, it wasn't kissing my ass. Sometimes it was the opposite. It was kicking my ass, you know. But I always respected you, you know what I mean? And you always gave good advice, you know. So for that, I truly thank you, Burt. And it's great to talk to you again after all this time. I hope you're doing well. I hope Mrs. Watson is doing well. And I truly appreciate talking to you.
Well, we're good, man. And I appreciate having you on Legends to Legends. And you gotta just give me a little twist that when I get ready to circle back around and coming back to get you again to an update to see where you are and let your fans know what the count is doing, my man.
You got it. Anytime, Barrett. Just hit me up.
All night long, baby.